Welcome in. It's the Second Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and we have a new champion golfer of the year. You might have heard of him. We'll break it all down and then some. Mark Immelman is here. Mark, good day.
Yeah, good day to you guys. Happy Sunday. Wow, what a tournament. What a fantastic tournament. Actually, I'm still sort of catching my breath, even though it seemed like a coronation and maybe a little slow. If you consider what he just pulled off, this is serious, man. This is real stuff, and it was fun to watch.
Greatness indeed. Greg DuCharme is here. Gregors, good to see you.
What a week, boys. What a week. Just incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible. It was a coronation, but that's what we have here with the best golfer in the world. He gives us regular coronations. His ability to dominate the game of golf is rare air, and all those all the comparisons that people want to be a little careful with, understandably so. He just kind of keeps living up to them. It's amazing what we're getting to watch right now.
Wait, Rick, I've got to turn this on you because you're always the host asking for our opinion. So now we want to turn the tables on you and go, okay, your impressions off the top of your head of the week, please.
I actually don't like comments like this from Paul Bills Mafia, who says snooze fest. I don't like it when the domination is poo-pooed a little bit. I think we are living in a moment that we will look back at and say, wow, remember when this happened. And maybe the moment's over this year. Maybe it's 3 more years. Maybe it's 10 more years. I don't know. But it's a moment that we are in right now. And what Scottie Scheffler is doing is nothing short of incredible. His peers have basically given up hope. They know they're all playing for second. Things like that are coming from former number 1 players in the world like Jordan Spieth, who had one of the most historic runs in the modern game. They're coming from Xander Schauffele, who's a top 5 player in the world. Mark, Scottie Scheffler has the best players in the world begging for mercy.
He does. And I work on a crew with a number of major champions and such, and people in the know, and each and every one of us during commercial breaks are like, this is incredible. Like when he's hit a 3-iron from 240 to about 20 feet, perfect hole high. It is vintage performance. And I want to share something with the fans that one of my colleagues, my on-course colleagues, Tyler, said to me last night when we had this text chain going on because we might have had a little wager on this Open Championship that I didn't win, for the record. And I had the winner and the fourth place guy. How do you think that works out? Because I had a couple cut missers. But anyway. And so the question was, so do you think Rory has a chance tomorrow? This was last night. And Tyler's answer was, only if it's ravioli night in Portrush.
It's been the only thing to stop him.
I know.
It's remarkable. Mina, let's throw up the scorecard here. So Scottie Scheffler opened the day with a 4-shot lead, and he asserted himself immediately, Greg. And for being ho-hum, I'm just out here to have a little fun. My name's Scottie Scheffler. He sure does put his foot on everybody's throat when he stuffs one on the first hole to tap in range for birdie. This man is out here fist pumping par saves. He wants to destroy you is what he wants.
Yes, and he's very good at it, even though it's not fulfilling to him. I should give him a little credit. It doesn't fulfill the deepest desires of his heart. That's different than not being fulfilling. I think destroying the competition is fulfilling for him. He just doesn't define himself that way. But this is those 2 par putts on 6 and 7 were Tiger-esque moments, right? And the birdie at 1 was a Scotty-esque moment because it was a little right of the flag, but because it's dead flag high, it catches the slope perfectly, which looked to me like if it was a little shy of the slope, it would kind of feed away. If it was a little long of the slope, it would kind of feed away. I haven't been on the ground there, so I don't know that for sure, but his came right down the heart because it was dead hole high. And that's the kind of thing that you see from him. It's why you may get a comment like snooze fest. You get a comment like snooze fest because he is the most predictable player that I've ever seen play the game of golf. You don't see Scotty Scheffler lay an egg. I mean, you can count on you can count on one hand. It's really, there's two major championships in the last 4 years where Scotty has been out of it early. It was Pinehurst, and the other one was Southern Hills after he won his very first Masters. That's it. Everything else has been pretty legitimate contention deep into these tournaments. And this is exactly what we talked about yesterday, Rick. The other aspect that's Tiger-esque is asserting yourself on Friday and Saturday and getting yourself in a position on Sunday where you can just stiff arm the rest of the field. Literally like playing keep away with a child, where you can put your hand on their head and they can't get close to the ball that you're holding with your other hand. That's what Scotty does on Sundays.
Scotty made a bogey on Friday, came on number 11. He did not make another bogey or worse until number 8 today, Mark, in where he drove it into a pot bunker and tried to take on a bit much and could not extract himself from that pot bunker. I would argue that double is really facilitated by the fact of how big his lead was. If that's a one-shot lead, he doesn't even try to pull off the hero shot. He was just, you don't have to do that. So even the double that he makes would probably have been avoided if he wasn't up by so much.
Well, he admitted as such when he was asked about it. He said, in hindsight, it was a silly shot, and I just should have taken my medicine. I mean, he's such a good wedge player anyway. He blasts that thing out of the fairway bunker, probably gets himself inside 15 feet to salvage the par. And the way he was rolling it this week, there was a high chance he was probably going to make that thing for the par. And look, that sort of kept stuff interesting for a while. But just if I might, with a snooze fest, there was a question here in the chat that Mina's going to pop up. I want to answer that question for a minute, but before I do, in a minute, but before I do this, I want to say this. Right, so if we watch something like gymnastics, some balance beam or floor routine or something, or if you watch figure skating, or if you watch, I don't know, a game where a person does a perfect routine, everyone hankers after that. They want to see the perfect 10. Yes? Do you agree with that?
Agreed.
Yeah. So then why, if we are basically watching a 9.5 out of 10 at championship golf, are people calling it a snooze fest? It's freaking insane, in my opinion. Anyhow, I will take a breath and then I will get back to the question there. And the question is, Mark is yelling. I'm not. I'm just trying to make a point here, because we need to appreciate, and this is back to what I said last night. We need to appreciate, and I didn't the first time I saw Tiger in person doing this stuff. I was like, no, man, this doesn't settle with me. We've got to beat this guy. But looking back on it, I wish I had been appreciative of it. And now when I'm getting to see this level of play, like some concert pianist doing this entire concerto by his or herself and nailing it, that is incredible. We are witnessing incredible right now. And to this question over here with Jim and Trevor, and the question is, do we ever on CBS get to a point where during breaks we're like, come on, someone needs to make a move? If it has, I couldn't remember it, because the reason why Jim Nantz to me is so good is that every story is a story. It doesn't have to be Rory or Scotty that makes this thing the blockbuster. Now, Rory at the Masters is the blockbuster of the year. That is without question. Scotty this week, this was top billing stuff. But you know what? Then you go to another event, and I go back to Rafa Campos winning in Bermuda last year. That too, in its own way, is a story, and Nance is the ultimate storyteller. And no matter who's near the top, and maybe Brooks Koepka's leaving people in the dust, you have to appreciate that. And then if you've got this tight race where they're 5 wide, you've got to appreciate that too. But each and every round, each and every event, it's an event unto itself. So no, for us over there at CBS, we get to document history each and every week. And sometimes history looks like this. And sometimes history looks like the Masters. And sometimes history looks like, I don't know, the 3M Open next week. Who knows what's going to happen there? So no, we don't really, because look, let's be real, winning on the PGA Tour is freaking difficult. And in other words, doing what Scotty is doing right now is downright biblical.
It is. It's the PGA Tour. It's major championships. It's the Olympics. It's everything. Mina, can you share my screen real quick? This is now we've got the 2025 major season in the books. Here were the top 15 performers, Greg. You're going to see that Scotty Scheffler has been significantly better than his peers and en route to these two major championships. Do we have this graphic, Mina? Thank you.
Loading.
Hold on. I think I can make it. There we go.
We need more space for Scotty.
We need more space for Scotty. There we go. So these are the top 15 players in the world at major championships this year. Scotty Scheffler picked up 56 strokes to the field. Next closest, Rory McIlroy, 35. So this illustrates kind of what he did in totality at these major championships, where he did not finish outside the top 10.
So is the difference between Rory and Scotty is like 21. That difference is the same as
everybody else on the list.
Rory and everybody else on the list.
Yeah, which is the next. So between at least golfer 2 and 15, but I'll tell you, it actually goes down to. So that would be like 14 strokes gained. That would be down to Max Grazerman, who is the 27th best player in major championships this year.
Scotty to Rory is the same as Rory to Max Grazerman.
That's right.
In majors this year. That is dominance, and there's no other word to describe it. It's just dominance. It takes Scotty to play poorly for anybody to beat him. It's a scary place to be for everybody else in the world. You got to hope that he gets ice cold with the putter. Or you got to hope that he cuts his hand at night.
He tries to cook ravioli.
Right? He tries to cook ravioli or gets arrested. That's your best chance. His best is better than everybody else's. His worst doesn't come out very often. And the craziest part about this, Rick, is I'm sure that last year it didn't look a whole lot different. Xander probably was maybe Xander even beat him, but if he didn't, it was probably pretty darn close. The year before that probably didn't look a whole lot different. It's here for a long time, because the way that he goes about it is it just seems like it's what he does. It doesn't seem like a hot streak. And that's the most fascinating part. And that's where the comparisons to the legends of the game become very real very quickly.
Let's have a difficult conversation here, because a lot of times we do not want to take this conversation on, but I think we have to take it head on.
It's time.
Okay. Tiger-esque is what Scotty Scheffler has been described as doing since the start of 2022. Mark, what are the compare and contrast this for me? Obviously, Tiger did it a lot longer. What else would be different? Why can we not say this is Tiger-esque, or why can we say this is Tiger-esque?
Okay, before I do that, I need to give you due credits, because, and that's a word I struggle with, credit. Struggle to say that. You are strokes gained graphics right now, because I noticed one of your graphics got picked up by All and Sundry.
Oh, did
on
it?
X the other night. No, so nice job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, our leader. Here's the thing about Tiger and Scotty, because I've taken a due amount of heat this week when I made a few comparisons to Tiger. And I've always prefaced this with the thought that you cannot make that comparison because they're different length careers. And Tiger is arguably the greatest that our game has ever seen because of the record. If you just look at the pure resume and not how the people play. I made the comparison because of how they play, and deeper than that, how they comport themselves on the golf course. Now, Tiger and Scotty, if you just look at, if you didn't see the players playing and you watched them play from tee to green, Tiger had a few more shots. He was he took on more shots, left to right, high, low. Scotty goes fade shot most of the time. He'll move the trajectory up and down. As far as distance control with irons go, I would say Tiger and Scotty are on par right now with each other. The thing about Tiger, or the difference between the two of them, where it seems like Tiger was better, and I don't know what the numbers bear out here. I've just gotten to watch both of them play. Tiger hit the ball hole high every single time. When he hit a good shot, he'd let you know. He was the key, the king, and he started a generation of club twirlers. You know, to put the exclamation points on the shot to let you know I hit that thing out of the blueprint. Scotty just does it, and he's like, oh, another one. I'll go and hit the next putt. Around the greens, I think they're equally proficient. Scotty does it more simply. Tiger would go for the hero shot, where Scotty will likely pick the easier shot to hit. On the greens, Tiger was by far and away a better putter. Not even close. In my opinion, pressure putting, if I had someone to putt for my life, even now I'd probably pick Woods, because he just has that way, almost that will of making a putt. So that's how they play from the tee to the hole. So that's my contrast. There's a lot of comparison, especially in the iron games. And then just their mindsets and how they just get so singular on the golf course. There are so many comparisons there. I would say Scotty is closer to Tiger in terms of just being completely myopic than anybody else who's ever played the game. And I read a very interesting thing this morning by someone. I wish I knew the name so I could give you credit. Now I said it twice. Well, now.
Nice.
Thank you. Hooray for me. Where it was, and I remember this because I was on the call for Amen Corner. It was the year that Tiger made it 10 or whatever it was on number 12.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Hit in the water, in the back bunker, and back and forth and back and forth. Scotty was playing with Tiger that day. I forgot that. Mm-hmm. And Scotty has talked about watching Tiger play and how he dealt with that and how he basically competed. Because after that, he birdied his way in to almost shoot even par. Remember that?
Right.
And Scotty has now admitted, he goes, I learned so much from watching Tiger play that day by just blocking out the noise, doing my thing, staying to the task at hand, one shot at a time, all those cliched things. And I'm basically watching a bearded Tiger Woods now in terms of the way he just conducts himself, aside from the fist pumping and all that sort of stuff. Scotty's more muted, but again, that's Scotty. Tiger wears black and red, so he comes at you with his colors. Scotty's khaki and blue. I mean, he's like vanilla in clothing. So, I mean, and then you look at the resumes over these last, what was the graphic you did? 24 or 36 months or something? Mm-hmm. It's comparable.
Yes, it is.
The major wins, the tournament wins, that graphic you talked about where they showed 1,600 something days between first and fourth wins in the majors. It is comparable. People over this stretch in time, you can make the direct comparison between the two of them. Just Tiger let you know he was a whole lot better, where Scotty's just like, I'm going to let my scorecard tell you the story.
That's the thing, Greg. The rate of winning is very comparable. The rate of top tens, incredibly comparable. The strokes gained numbers, comparable enough. One, Tiger Woods ushered in a new era, which is always going to give him the aura, right? The swag that Scotty Scheffler will never have. He's not a swag guy. But from a golf perspective, the results have been very comparable.
Yes, it had. I mean, it was that number Mark was mentioning. It was 1,197 days.
Oh, so it wasn't exactly 1,600. Thank you. Jeez.
Yes, a little closer. Exactly the same amount of days. There's something there that's very special. Now it's a little older for Scotty. So I was looking at guys who, like, the ages of guys when they won their fourth major, and it was a pretty quick search. So if some of this is a little bit off, there were 12 players to win their fourth major before 30 that I counted. Now that they said on the broadcast, 5 in the last 50 years. Scotty's one of them. Scotty's 29. Gary Player won his fourth at 29. Ended up with 9 majors.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, a Hall of Famer. You could argue the Mount Rushmore. Or there are only 4 players in the history of the game with more majors than Gary Player. Actually, that's not even true because Hogan and Gary both have 9. So they're tied. There are only 3 players with more. One of them's Walter Hagen, who was winning in 1902.
He won all the PGAs basically.
Yeah. So, there's like very few players that we're looking at here. The other thing is, of the guys with 6 or more majors, they won their last major. 8 of those 14 players, more than half won their last major being over 40 years of age. So there's like you're looking at 10 more years of this potentially. It's big time potential. So if he continued his winning percentage, which right now,
I like it because Greg's saying it and I'm not saying it.
Yeah. Remember,
I'm just trying to paint this. This is just the scenario.
Yeah.
Right. We could disagree or question. There's a lot that comes into this. I understand it, but he's won 16% of his majors so far that he's played in. If he wins 16% of his next 40, that would put him at 10 or 11 majors. Right. It's like 6.4 more majors. So 10 or 11 total. That's obviously off the pace of Tiger. Could he do it for longer? Could he increase the win rate? Potential. Could he never win again? It's really hard to imagine, but potential. So I think we're looking at one of the like top 5 major winners of all time in Scottie Scheffler right now. I know it's a lot more. He's got a lot more to do. He's got to double up to get in there. But the way that he goes about it is it's not like Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth won making more 25 footers than anybody else. It's like it's very hard to keep that going. What Scottie does, it seems like he could do it for years because he doesn't beat guys with distance. So it's not like one thought that I have is, well, Kyle Porter posted this video of he and Rick 4 years ago. I'm in the video, fortunately didn't say anything. And it was wondering if Scottie, if it was a problem that he hadn't won yet. Is there somebody?
Luckily, we both lean towards no, it's not a problem.
Is there somebody right now playing golf that's like the next Scottie Scheffler that we just don't realize it yet? That's in my head. Is there another guy is like an Aldrich Potgieter who blasts it, kind of take over the game? Maybe, but Scottie will always be there because what he doesn't rely on his distance. And I think that's a really powerful thing, that control that he has. It's the same swing that he's always had. He's not going to change coaches. And I don't think he's going to make any significant changes that lead to a big problem. So projecting Scottie is a little bit easier than it is to project anybody else, in my opinion.
Rick, you got anything? I also want to say something.
No, hop in.
A couple of words. Brooks Koepka. Remember all the majors he won? And then he stalled at 5. Remember Rory, Rory was better than Scottie as a kid, and he stalled at 4 for a while. Golf is so mental. And if we were, and I've said this, I don't think we need to project. I think we need to appreciate. Because if we start playing the projections game, then we just clickbait like every other fool who has a podcast. Let's just appreciate what he's done. Really relish this because it was vintage. And then go, all right, let's let the next event take care of itself. If he was to do it, I would believe the thing that's going to set him apart really is more the mind game, the Tiger Woods comparison I made. Because golf at this level is physical, certainly, but it's so mental. It's just so very mental. And he just seems to have that so much in tune. And he's figured out exactly what he needs to do. And in the press conference, I was listening before I joined the show here. One of the last questions was a British reporter, and the guy goes, Scottie, I know it's fresh, but have you even just stole for a minute the thoughts of Shinnecock in the career Grand Slam? And Scotty very smartly answered. He goes, look, it's an incredible achievement. What Rory did this year, he's one of a handful of people. It's an unreal thing. But no, I haven't had enough time. And then he goes, and secondly, that's not what I do. He goes, at the end of the year, I'm going to play the playoffs. I'm going to play the Ryder Cup. And at the end of the year, then I'm going to debrief this year and look at what I have to do better. Not what tournaments didn't I win, stuff like that. He goes, I'm going to look for places where I can improve. And so he's just got it so figured out where it's like, oh, shucks, now I just need the US Open. You know why Rory didn't win the Masters for so long? Because it was the freaking Masters. Mm-hmm. So if Scotty just keeps doing what Scotty is, and he goes, I just got to get a little better on the greens. If he gets better on the greens, he is stacking the odds in his favor. But nothing is guaranteed. And
he's not circling any event on the calendar.
He told us that Byron Nelson was as big an event as what he'd ever won because he grew up in Dallas. And I can believe it because the guy is just so honest.
Yeah, he cried after that one.
Exactly. He had all his buddies there. The Byron Nelson was massive to him because he played in it the first one as a kid, and he's from the hometown, and all his boys were around. I can believe it.
And he won by 8.
He is the best I've ever seen at separating process from result. And as long as you continue to do that, it is going to be very, very good. The 2025 champion golfer of the year, now 4-time major champion,
Round of applause.
Scheffler. Congratulations, Scotty Scheffler. There it is. The updated graphic, him kissing the claret jug. Beautiful. I love that the Open website does.
Did you see what he said when Todd Lewis goes, so what's it like to have your name on the claret jug there next to all those legends? And he looks down and he sort of laughs. He goes, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would have been overcome if I was in that place. He goes, I would have melted into the putting green if someone said that to me. Let's give out some more flowers here, because this podium did not necessarily look like this at the conclusion throughout the day, or even what we might have thought happened throughout the week. Now, Harris English stayed in contention throughout the entirety of this event, Greg. A 5-under round of 66 to close on Sunday, highlighted by the eagle that he made on number 12. This is going to be the second runner-up finish for Mr. English this year at a major championship.
Yes, both won by Scotty, and he lost by a combined 9 shots, which is it. But look, what Harris English has done this year has been spectacular. He won way back in, I think it was in January at the Farmers, and has kept up his play throughout the entire year. And it's really awesome to watch Harris English step up on these big time golf courses. He does it time and time and time again. And in some ways similar to Scotty Scheffler in that he's so even keeled emotionally. I think from a skill set perspective, they're quite different, but Harris put on a show with his iron play this week. That golf swing was, I think Mark aptly described it yesterday.
It's on my phone.
Yeah. It's on your phone and it's in a hidden folder somewhere. You don't want anybody else to know that you have it on there. Because there's a lot of joy you can get watching Harris English swing the golf club, and you can watch him roll the ball too. That's pretty joyful as well. So he ends up 4th in strokes gained approach for the week, 2nd in strokes gained putting behind only Scotty Scheffler. This was through the bag. Very, very impressive for Harris English.
This will also effectively, Mark, this will punch his ticket to Bethpage, because a solo second, he entered the week 10th. A solo second is worth 1.5 times points at a major championship. He will be there. So Harris English will be on the Ryder Cup team.
I was about to say, book it. You need to book this guy, because for all the reasons that Greg points out and what you guys have said, I think I made the point, if you had to look at them just side by side, Harris plays a similar game to Scotty, just makes it look more elegant. And Scotty's got that something, you can't quantify it, why he just finds a way to win. And Harris is still young. I mean, he's got plenty of time in front of him, and he's got a golf swing that doesn't place a lot of stress in his body. So you figure there's longevity about him as well. So again, I'm doing what I say I hate to do, but if I'm reading the tea leaves, they're big wins in this guy's future. And you can book this now. Clip this social media. I'm going on a limb here. This guy is going to earn points for the US in New York at the end of the year. Promise you that.
Indeed, very easy to play with, very easy to partner with. There's going to be a lot of guys clamoring to play with Harris English. Have you seen, Mark, anybody change their life and their professional career in the last 8 rounds of golf like Chris Gotterup has just done? Because that is a Scottish Open victory last week. Gets into the Open, which he wasn't even planning on playing. Probably had to call Nike and get some more threads over there. And finishes on the podium, solo third at the Open Championship. And boy, he's going back home thinking life is pretty good right now.
They got him the sweet cashmere sweaters for the week too. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been life-changing. But it just shows you the beauty of this game. Now, I'm not saying it's easy because we all hanker after these things, and you see someone go from, he's not zero to hero because, he's a PGA Tour winner in an opposite field event. But all of a sudden, he's burst onto the stage. And you have everybody, whilst we're in the Ryder Cup year, talking about the fact that this dude needs now to be on the Ryder Cup, the US Ryder Cup team. So, yeah, it has been life-changing. And not just for the bank account and the resume and the playoffs and all those sorts of things. I feel like just for the self-belief, because, it's one it's a thing to win on tour. And I know this because I've worked with tour players. You get the first win and you feel like, okay, I've won on the tour. Then it becomes the thing where the second win becomes harder because you have to validate that you're actually worthy of the first win. And remember, his first win was an opposite field event. So a lot of the veteran old Grizzly pros would be like, yeah, well, you won on a small field event. But he won in a big time event in Scotland. Then he backs it up at an Open Championship, finishes on the podium. Yeah, his confidence must be sky high right now. He'll have a few weeks off. Now he is primed with the way he's playing and the confidence he has to make a big run in the playoffs, and then certainly potentially get a Ryder Cup berth.
Yes. And Greg, like what happens next? Because this could go a couple ways, right? This could be, wow, I just had the greatest week of my life, or greatest 12 days of my life. Let me exhale a little bit. Or I stay in this. I play well. I mean, the season's almost over. I know it feels like the middle of summer. I know the Open just ended. We've got the 3M. We've got the Wyndham, which feels like a playoff event because you get a lot of guys who need it to get in. And then we're going to have 2 playoff events. And if he stays playing like this, you're talking about a guy who could be a spoiler at Eastlake. You're talking about a guy that just to make a deep run in this playoff, who has a skill set that would be very well received at a Ryder Cup. Like, I don't know, man. This could be very, like, stay hot for 6 more weeks, and this is completely different trajectory we're on.
Yeah, this is the last 2 weeks. It's been hot with a win and a third. There's no question about that. But the year that he's put together in its entirety is very good, from a consistency standpoint. This is his 11th top 25 on the PGA Tour. Now, I think this and last week are his only top 5s, but 11 top 25s, there's a lot of really good golf. And it takes you away from the link specialist question, which we were asked on Twitter. Is he just a link specialist, or will this translate to PGA Tour events? I think the evidence says that, yes, it translates to PGA Tour events. He's just elevated in his own mind and in the rankings from, coach class to first class in a very short period of time. And, he's probably flying that way too. Maybe even private after these last 2 weeks. So it's been a huge rise, but it's like when you look at Xander Schauffele's record at the Open before his win, you might have said it was his worst Open. It was his worst major championship of all 4. Then he wins. Now it looks a whole lot better. Same with Scottie Scheffler. Well, maybe the Open is tough for, maybe he doesn't like links golf. Well, now he wins, and everything that happened before looks a whole lot better. For Chris Gotterup, now he wins and finishes third in a major. Now the T23 at the U.S. Open looks a whole lot better. And all the other 9 other T25s or better look a whole lot better. And for a lot of guys in this Ryder Cup situation right now that are kind of teetering, and they're there because of things they may have done early on in the season, but have tapered off a little bit. Somebody's got to go take it. And right now, Chris Gotterup is demanding a spot.
Yeah, he is. And I'm very excited to see what the next handful of weeks looks like for him, because it would be certainly worth elevation if he can continue to play this way. Let me get you a couple notables here, gentlemen. We'll round out a couple of these bigger names here. So it was Scheffler 17 under par. That was the final winning score there. Harris English 13 under, Chris Gotterup at 12 under par, and then a couple of guys here at 11. We'll focus on Matt Fitzpatrick here, Mark. You know, really the only I would say bad stretch from him was Saturday, the back nine. He was really leaking oil. I don't know if it was the finally playing with Scotty Scheffler got to him a little bit too much, but he made enough birdies to stay in this thing. He shot a 2 under 69, and this was a result that he needed. It has not been a very good year for him. This is a really strong run that he's been on.
For all of the reasons that we were sort of talking about the other guys here too, where it's playoffs upcoming, because he was languishing down the list a little bit. Obviously, in the Ryder Cup conversations for Europe, he has not been at the forefront of stuff, and it's been a really good 2 weeks of links golf for him with big points. And if I don't know what the rankings for Europe are, but I know he wasn't in there, and I know now that he's turning Captain Luke Donald's head a little bit, because he was pretty strong out there in Rome. You talked about Rome on HQ when I was with you there, so yeah, for many reasons, this is big, and I would expect him back. Maybe he plays in Greensboro. I don't know, if not definitely in the playoffs and such. And then you have a run there, then you can do yourself a lot of favors. Because remember, on the tour, now I'm sounding very much like a tour guy, but, you know, top 50 is a big deal. You know, top 50 gets you in all the designated signature events. So all of these things with the FedEx Cup points now that you're earning big points towards, this is big for next year, because when you're in those events, it's not like you can pad your points and your money and stuff like that, but you can certainly give yourself a leg up. And for a Fitzpatrick, he's a major championship contender, getting in all the majors, getting in those big events. That's what he plays for. That's the kind of player he is.
Entered the week 22nd in the European Ryder Cup points standings. We'll see how that gets adjusted come Monday morning, but certainly moving in an upward direction. Speaking of moving in upward directions, I'm going to lump these two together, but we'll take them individually here, Greg. And I'm going to give you Wyndham Clark, because Wyndham Clark and Bryson DeChambeau had a very similar weeks. They really struggled on Thursday. Then they got after it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Wyndham Clark's 65 that he closed with, including leaving a birdie putt on the lip of 18, could have been 64, flies him up the leaderboard. And I don't think there was a lot of evidence or reason or confidence in thinking that Wyndham Clark was going to be on the first page of the leaderboard on Wednesday evening.
No, there was very little. I mean, looking at rickrungood.com, he was $6,700 on DraftKings, you know, very low. I was looking at what he had done leading into this, and why I wasn't sniffing him this week for any kind of pick of any sort. His iron play was terrible coming into this. You know, in his last 8 events, he had lost strokes approaching the green in 7 of them. Right, really bad, losing 3, 4, 5. Even at the Memorial, he lost nearly 8 strokes to the field with just his iron play. And then you turn around this week, and he's 8th in the field with a bad day. 8th in the field in strokes gained approach the green. He was 3rd in proximity to the hole. He was actually 2nd behind only Scotty Scheffler in proximity to the hole for the week. So that was a big uptick for him. And look, Wyndham's been through quite a bit this year. His name has been thrown around in some ways that I'm sure he's not proud of. I'm sure he's not happy about, and clearly able to put that aside and or use it as fuel. I don't know which he did, but that Oakmont stuff came out this week, or was that this week?
That was this week.
You know, these guys know what's going on in the public world too. They're reading things. And to see that go public the week of a major is very disappointing. It shines a spotlight on yourself, and boy, he delivered.
He did deliver. And Mark, is that Wyndham has been pretty open about the mental side of things and working with a mental coach at times. And is that, I would not give Wyndham a lot of credit for being able to compartmentalize what's going on off the golf course and just focusing on the golf. But he very much proved my assessment wrong there.
Yeah, kudos to him. I mean, look, it's easy to play pylon with Wyndham. Because he can be a little abrasive at times, but he's a good guy deep down. And he worked hard to get over some of the anger management stuff he had with Julie Elion. And they did a tremendous job. But the reality is, it's easy to conduct yourself well when you're playing well and winning. You know, the real measure of a man is when things aren't going your way. And he fell short. And now, to his credit, he's picked himself up off the canvas and said, no, I was wrong. And he's reached out to Oakmont, and they're trying to mend the bridges and fences and stuff over there. And so kudos to him. I think this, not to sound like your golf score is going to make you feel better, because then you're not Scotty Scheffler, right? Because Scheffler's like, whatever, I'll just do my best. But for Wyndham, this one will help. Certainly it will help him kind of get the train going in the right direction again. But it's this weird thing where it's like the chicken or the egg. It's like, so if you have confidence, you'll play better. But if you play better, you'll have confidence. A lot of this with Wyndham is just personal. You know, you just got to be like, I got to be an upright guy. I got to do the right thing. And then if I do that, then the rest will take care of itself, almost in the Scotty Scheffler mold. So good on him for doing the right stuff and trying to clean up some of the mess he made.
Let's transition right to Bryson DeChambeau, who had a similar-ish looking week. The opening 78, 79 that he shot was birdie free, something that you don't always hear about Bryson DeChambeau. In fact, I believe it was only the second time in his career that he had done that, but goes absolutely nuclear over the course of the final 3 rounds. And Mark, this is interesting because we did talk about this on HQ. He is going to be in Rome, and he should be, and he is going to be the biggest cheerleader. And that team is going to be just bonkers when he gets there.
Yeah, he's going to be in Bethpage Black, obviously. I said this to someone the other day, and they asked about Bryson after the 79 or whatever he shot. And my response was, because I know Bryson pretty well. And I'm like, my assessment of DeChambeau is that he craves or he hankers after predictability. Every decision he makes in golf is to make it more predictable somehow, from figuring out air density and ground firmness and all sort of stuff, because he wants to know that if I hit this 7-iron on the button, it's going to go this far. And when he develops his putting stroke, he measures it with a yardstick, because he essentially, once he knows the speed of the greens, it's algorithmic, where he figures out if I swing the club back and forth this length at this speed, the ball's going to go that far. Because this now says to you that Bryson wants to be able to go, okay, this is an equation, A plus B equals C. But golf doesn't work that way. And links golf certainly doesn't work that way. Sometimes it's A plus B equals -15 minus C, because of what the weather's doing. And he was just caught with his pants down a little bit in round 1. And then they said, so what's he going to do in the next few rounds? I'm like, if the weather's good, he'll be fine. And it turns out the weather was good and he was fine. And then everyone looks around and goes, well, if he hadn't have shot the 79 in the first round. I'm like, well, if I had $1 million, you wouldn't see me right now. I'd be on an island somewhere. So it's the reality of the game. But the one thing I know about Bryson, and I'll get the Ryder Cup thing, he will go and try and figure this out. It was like he's proved it with Augusta, because remember the whole it's a par 67 thing for me?
Yeah.
Right? That bit him in the rear end. But he came back a better player, and he plays Augusta National differently. Over the last couple of rounds at Port Rush, I saw him play a little less frantic off the tee. You know, he put the balls in fairways a whole lot more and played smarter. But then to the Ryder Cup, I think I made the point on HQ where I'm like, he's going to be what Justin Thomas has been to the US team, because this guy is he's the most popular guy on the team. Scotty for a different way, but Bryson's going to pull that crowd, and they're going to be rabid, and he's going to be feeding their frenzy, and that's going to help the US team. It's going to be like a 13th man, and it's all because of this guy. So I feel like he's going to be very, very valuable on that US team.
Yeah, the one thing that was my big thing, Greg, is in Rome, that US team just zero juice until the story broke that Patrick Cantlay wasn't going to wear a hat because he wanted to be paid, right? Like, and if that's what it takes to get you juiced up for a Ryder Cup, you are cooked. And having Bryson, who is going to treat this like I don't even know what.
It's another YouTube show, man. Can I win 9-8 versus Scott versus Rory?
Yeah, can I win? Can I beat Rory 9-8? Is what this YouTube video is going to be. It is going to be him at cranked up to 150. And oh, by the way, he's got a skill set that is unbelievable. He's got the Ryder Cup experience. He's obviously one of the best players in the world. It's not going to feel like Friday morning in Rome did on Friday morning at Bethpage.
No, I think that's a very valid point. And there's a lot of guys you could pair Bryson with as well. I mean, wouldn't you like to hit tee shots or wouldn't you like to hit approach shots from where Bryson drives it? I think there's a lot of guys on that U.S. team that'll feel that way. This was also a really big week for him because it's the last opportunity to gain Ryder Cup points. And I heard Kevin Kisner say that on the broadcast, which was fascinating to me because Kevin Kisner is a vice captain. So while I was thinking Bryson's probably a lock either way, maybe they weren't. And the only reason I say that is because of Kisner's comments, and he battles all the way back for a top 10 in this one. That locks it up, in my opinion. So phenomenal stuff. I think Mark's right on the button about the weather because he had some windy conditions in round one and it did not go very well for him. And the remaining 3 days were much calmer wind speeds. And he was able to answer the bell. That speaks to the talent level. That speaks to the skill set, which is very well-rounded, much more well-rounded than you think. But when he gets in those situations with high winds, it can present challenges for him because A plus B does not equal C. And that's the hardest thing for him. I don't think that's an issue at Bethpage. I don't think that's an issue most of the time in golf. That's why he's one of the best players in the world. Links happens to be a different animal. And fortunately for Bryson, we got some good weather this weekend. Fortunately for him, he hung around, still believed in himself, and came back and answered the bell. The Friday round was the most impressive one to me. Needed the round of the day to make the cut and pretty much got it.
What happens, Greg? Who's the U.S. player most likely to play with Bryson in alternate shot, having to use a golf ball that has only been developed for Bryson?
That's a fascinating thing. Fascinating thing.
Because that's gonna be if that's true, right? Bryson is like making a golf ball for himself.
Yep. Well, if I can cut in here, Greg, the President's Cup. I don't know if it's the same for the Ryder Cup. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. On the President's Cup, the guy teeing off, you could use his golf ball. So whoever had the tee shot, you could decide to use the ball in alternate shot. Where previously you had to pick one ball. There was not a one ball rule. And the rule was typically that the guys would go with the ball for whoever was hitting the approach shot because they used to have the thing spins and flies. But I think Bryson, I don't know what he's currently using, but yeah, they'll probably just alternate. I think there won't be a one ball rule because remember the US are the home team, so they can make the rules and set up the course.
I love that they could just make up the rules and set up the golf course.
Well, not make up the rules, but
I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's funny though. All right, I got two more for you. They're big names. Rory McIlroy obviously entered the week as the second favorite, but the favorite of all of those in Northern Ireland. Mark, it was a T7 in which he shot a 69 on Sunday. By all accounts, it was a great week. However, Rory McIlroy is in a class where he gets graded on major championship victories.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? He just looked lighter at the end of the whole thing to me. Rory with this previous year, I think Rory almost realized that he had gotten the most out of himself this week. You can point to some spots where he probably could have shaved like 3 or 4 or 5 strokes, but I still think down in his soul, he still knows that wasn't enough to beat Scotty. And Rory, to your thing about the class of his own, he's playing for titles. So when he walked up 18 and when he chipped it up there close and made the putt, and how he greeted the crowds, had basically got the encore, the standing ovation there, and then greeted every spotter and every rules official. It's like Rory really relished this week. And I think unless it was a win, anything was going to suffice. He just didn't want to miss the cut again. And he got by that. And I do feel like, and it was funny how when he hit the tee shot down the center of the first fairway today, which was the first time he hit a really good one, he actually kind of hit Harry in the stomach and said, dude, I can do it. You see that sort of reaction. So in many ways, Rory conquered a few things this week, just not picking up the claret jug. So I think all in all, success.
Yeah. And for the year in totality, Greg, it will always be a success. You completed the career Grand Slam. You won the Masters. You've also won the Players. You've also won at Pebble Beach. And oh, by the way, you still have a lot of golf to be played, right? You're going to try to win the Tour Championship for what, the 4th or 5th time, whatever it is.
I'm saving him for one and done.
I know you are. And then you're going to play the Ryder Cup at Bethpage. So there is still a lot of meaningful golf left for a year that's already been wildly successful.
Yeah, A+ year, no matter what. Like even when he was a little grumpy after the PGA Championship,
That's a nice way to put it.
Rory against the media, he wasn't playing well, played the worst round of his PGA Tour career, statistically anyway, up in Canada. It's even after that, it's an A+ year. And I do think Rory's done a nice job of getting himself back into focus with contention at the Scottish Open. Well, good play at the Travelers as well. And quite frankly, good play at the US Open. I think that there's a lot for Rory to look forward to if he wants to, where his game and his mind seem to be back in a place that's pretty good. It's not peak, right? He didn't reach, heading into this week, he didn't reach the level he did in April, heading into the Masters, where everything's clicking on all cylinders. He didn't quite get to that level, understandably so, but he at least made strides in the right direction and got himself inside the top 10, got himself in contention. He was without Scotty Scheffler right there in the mix and was the story of the day in round 3. Unfortunately for Rory, just like everybody else, Scotty is Scotty and kind of stole the show. But Rory did a lot of really cool things this week. And when he looks back on 2025 at Royal Portrush, there will be fantastic memories, and it will be a big positive for him.
Well, last one here, and Greg, I'll bounce it back to you first. It's Xander Schauffele, and he, how will he look at this year? It's a good, not great year. Still looking for his first trophy of 2025. He shoots a 68 on Sunday and finishes inside the top 10. Yes,
kind of like Rory, Xander has not reached the level of performance that he did last year. Last year, before this tournament, I really looked into some of the stats with Xander. And while there were some things that were really impressive, it was clear to me there were a lot of holes in his game still. A little issue off the tee that didn't exist last year, issue on the greens that didn't exist last year. And it led to some scoring problems, way off the mark in the bogey avoidance, which he actually beat Scotty Scheffler in last year. But now all of a sudden you got a T7 here at the Open. You had another top 10 at the Masters, albeit you only have 3 on the year, which is probably disappointing. Things are very clearly heading in the right direction because Xander is hitting it really well, especially with those irons. And when we get back into regular PGA Tour golf courses, success with the iron play is as indicative as anything is when it comes to success with the final result. So Xander's got to be feeling really good about his play heading into the playoffs, and he's got work to do, but don't let Xander get in the top 30. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, to that, I'd give him an incomplete. If I was grading him, I'd say incomplete because he's playing well, he's gaining traction, body looks healthy, and he is really good in the playoffs. So, there's time for him to make something of the season.
This top 10 will move him to 50% top 10s in his major championship career, which is a rate that only Scotty Scheffler of the post-Tiger era can compete with, but Scotty has not played as many major championships as Xander has, which is fun. Mina, let's put a bow on this with the grid. Do you have that handy? Do you have the grid handy? Oh, I can hear her fumbling around looking for the grid. She's uploading it right now. Here it comes. There it is, the grid, in which I would say is pretty green by our standards. The biggest thing is we swept the finishing position market. Mark, you had Nikolai Højgaard to finish inside the top 40. You could have picked either Højgaard and gotten this one done.
No, he's just bet I've ever made, I think. Yeah, and by the way, I'm on the Højgaard train. I've told you the guys that. Both of them look really good this week. But top 40 plus 130 for Nikolai this week, I was like, geez, jump all over that.
Give me the Twins at Bethpage playing together. I need it. I need it. I need it. I had Cam Smith to miss the cut. That was very easy. Plus 115. Greg, you had Matt Fitzpatrick to finish inside the top 30. Could have been a top 10.
Could have been a top 5.
Easy. Easy game.
Easy. But this was sweat free. I just worry about, like, I had a really good feeling that he was going to play well. Sometimes, and I've learned this the hard way before, when guys get really close over the first couple of days and don't win, there's a big fall on Sunday. And it's very easy to go from third entering the final round to 23rd. And so that's why I went top 30 there. And I'll take the green on the blocks, even though it's very conservative looking at it now.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. I mean, Terrell Hatton was 1 over and he dropped 12 spots to T16. It does not take much at some of these events. I had Straka over Morikawa, and Greg, why do you always pick the chalk? Why does Scotty Scheffler always show up on your grid? What are you doing, you dummy?
Because I like to be right. The odds only matter. How many times can I say this? The odds only matter if you win, because whatever you put down, if you lose, the odds don't matter. You get 0 out of it. So had to have Scotty on there. I will say this. I toyed with Rory in Scotty's place.
Ooh.
And at the last second, I was like, what am I doing? You know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. Put him on the grid.
Well, you picked Scotty to win every major in January, so I'm glad that you at least were able to have him on your grid.
You're 2 for 4, and I pick Rory just about every time. I'm 1 for 4, so I guess in the end that's not bad.
Not bad, yeah. It's smart to go chalk sometimes.
Well,
it doesn't always happen that way, but it does very often with Scotty.
I'll tell you what.
I still think, Rick, that you have to. I'm not picking here, but you have to justify what did JT finish for the week?
Oh God, he was
third. What was he, like 34th, I think?
And while you look at that, I just need to acknowledge this. I had Lowry over Rahm in a matchup. And if it wasn't for that asinine penalty from the television view, that would have been the case. Just saying.
Yes. One shot between them.
That stinks.
He got docked 2 for that. Because the ball moved and then he hit the ball from the wrong place. He didn't even realize it moved. But what was that, a television call in? That stuff needs to stop. Gosh, he's not breaking the rule. He wasn't trying to break the rules.
This is a conversation for a different day. But the guys who, like the stars, they get both ends of this, though. They get a lot of cameras on them. But do you see how many people start looking for their golf ball when Rory hits it into the gorse bush and 40 people roll over there? They're not doing that for
like this.
Yeah, they're not doing that for Tom Hoagie or Justin Walters. Okay, they're doing that for Rory McIlroy.
That's a good pull. Where did you get Justin Walters from?
Just scroll down to the bottom of the leaderboard.
That's ugly, man. He's a nice guy.
I'm sure he is, but he should also have 30 people looking for his golf ball
or moving boulders for him.
Yeah,
like we saw with Tiger back in the day.
Yeah, craziness. Okay, next week's the 3M, then it's the Wyndham, then it's the playoffs. Before we get out of here, anything else Open Championship that we need to discuss right this second?
What's for dinner?
I'm hungry. Scotty's hungry.
Yep. Scotty's probably he's probably thinking about that now. I'm sure he had quite a few media obligations.
Signing all of his pin flags.
Well, he had said that he's hoping to be on the plane back home to the States tonight. So it's whatever they're going to be serving on the private jet. Hey, did you see there was the coolest post where some photographer has got a picture of Scotty hugging Meredith, and he's holding little Bennett, who's like leaning around her with his arm out wide as if to say, what the heck? And the caption that Jeff Eisenbahn puts up there is like, what, man? This happens every Sunday. This is nothing out of the new. Nothing
Seriously.
out of the ordinary. Yeah.
That kid knows nothing but winning.
That's great. It's very cool.
Yeah. Oh, after a golf tournament, we go on the 18th green and people talk to us.
Right. That doesn't happen for everybody.
Yeah. He thinks they're participation trophies.
Yes. Seriously. All right, gents. We'll be back at it again next week. Thank you all for tuning in. This was, again, the biggest week of Second Cut in its history, which is always great to see. Hopefully we continue to say that time and time and time again. Producer Mina, thank you very much. Doing all the hard work. For Mark Immelman, for Greg DuCharme, I'm Rick Gehman. This is the Second Cut. We'll catch you next time.